Om
Om
Sadashiva-Samarambham
Sadashiva-Samaramбham
Shankaracharya-Madhyamam
Shankaracharya-Madhyamam
Asmadacharya-Paryantam
Asmadacharya-Paryam
Vande
Vande
Guru
Guru
Paramparam.
Paramparam.
Om Sahana
Om
Bhavatu
Sahana Bhavatu
Sahana
Sahana
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam
Sahaviryam
Karvavahai
Karavavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma
Vidvishavahai.
Vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti
Shanti.
Shanti.
Okay, so we had completed the last chapter, the first chapter in the last class. And what are chapters called in the Mandukya Upanishad? Simple elementary questions. In the Mandukya Upanishad, what is the name given to chapter? Okay. What is the name of the first chapter as we read it first?
Agama Prakaranam.
Prakaranam. So Prakaranam is the name meaning chapter. And the first chapter was called Agama Prakaranam. Okay. Why Agama? Because literally speaking, Agama means to come from or to come. And what has come from the Lord? Veda has come. Therefore, Agama is also used to refer to Veda. So Agama Prakaranam means it is the chapter containing the Veda. And why is that said so? Why is that name given? Because in the first chapter only you have the entire Upanishad. The 12 mantras are contained in the first chapter only. Therefore, it is called Agama Prakaranam. Okay. Now remember that Agama has also another meaning. So, for example, there is something called Agama Shastram. So, Agama Shastram is a shastra which tells you about worship. It tells you about how to build temples, how to do worship for a particular deity. For example, how to do how to build Shiva temples or Vishnu temples, how to worship Shiva, how to worship Vishnu. All these details are given in Agama Shastra. So here we should not get confused. Here Agama means Veda. So Agama Prakaranam means Veda Prakaranam because the first chapter contains the entire Mandukya Upanishad. And the first chapter had 29 Karikas, right? And 12 mantras. Now afterwards, the mantras are over. See, all the chapters will consist only of Karikas. The second chapter is called Vaithatya Prakaranam. Vaithatya Prakaranam. Vaithatyam meaning what is not real. So basically Mithya, right? So Vaithatya Prakaranam means talking about Mithya. And as I said, in the seventh mantra, so if you look at the seventh mantra, and I asked you to check up, the last portion is Prapancho Pashamam Shantam Shivam Advaitam. Chaturtham Manyante Sa Atma Sa Vigneyaha. That is the last part of the mantra. So there are two very important words, Prapancho Pashamam and Advaitam. Now, the second and third chapters discuss these two words. The second chapter discusses exclusively the word Prapancho Pashmam, which means the entire second chapter is a commentary on the word Prapancho Pashmam. And the other word is Advaitam, and that is going to be the subject matter of the entire third chapter, which consists of something like 48 Karikas. The second chapter has 38 Karikas. Okay. Now, what do these words, Prapancho Pashamam and Advaitam, in the seventh mantra, these words are referring to what? What do these words refer to? Anybody?
Prapancho Upshamam means that Jagat is mithya. It negates the three worlds,
Yes.
prapanchas. And Advaitam means it is non-dual, so it is Satyam Brahman.
Yeah. So both refer to Turyam Brahman only. And that is why if you look at the last line, Prapanchopashmam Shantam Shivam Advaitam Chaturtham Manyante Sa Atma. Chaturtham is another word for Turyam, as I explained during that particular session. So both the words Advaitam as well as Prapanchopashamam refer to Turya Brahman only. And Prapanchopashamam is a compound word. When you break it up, it becomes Prapancha Upashamaha. Upashamaha means withdrawal or freedom from. What is Prapancha? Prapancha is the universe consisting of the gross, the subtle, and the causal universes. That is the Sthula, Sukshma, and Karana Prapanchas. And these were described where as the first pada, second pada, and third pada of Atma. Right? So remember that the Prapancha includes all the three bodies, Sthula, Sukshma, and Karanam. Right? And Upashabha means basically Rahitam, free from. And therefore, Prapanchopashama means free from the three universes, the gross universe, the subtle universe, and the causal universe. The Brahman is Prapanchopashamam, is free from all these three universes, all these three Prapanchas. And if you remember the discussions, in that Turyam Brahman, in each of these cases, for example, in the Sthula Prapancha, there were two pairs. There were two, a pair actually. So Vishwa, Virat was there in Sthula Prapancha. In Sukshma Prapancha, there was Taijasa, Hiranyagarbha. And in Sukshma Prapancha, there was Pragnya, Ishvara. So Vishwa is micro, Virat is macro, Taijasa is micro, Hiranyagarbha is macro, Pragnya is micro, Ishvara is macro. So Vyashti, Shamashti pair were there in each of these universes. Okay. Now, a very important question. Upashamam means freedom from. Okay. Freedom from means we are negating the universe. Now, whenever you use the word negation, remember it's a very, very important concept in the teaching of Vedanta, negation. So what is so important about it? The word negate. Okay, let's get back to grammar. The word negate. What is it? Verb, noun, adjective.
Verb.
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 So is it a transitive verb or an intransitive verb? In case you've forgotten what is transitive and transitive. A sentence structure is subject, verb, object. Right? A sentence which has all three, in that the subject and the object are there and the verb is there. That verb is called a transitive verb. So, I am eating an apple. I am the subject. Eating is the word. Apple is the object. So, word is transitive. So, some verbs require the object. Some verbs don't require an object. So, you say, I am walking. What is the object here? And don't say I. I is the subject. So, there is no object. There is the subject and there is a verb. And that is an intransitive verb. So in Sanskrit grammar, the verb negate, is a transitive verb, which means it requires an object. Okay. Now, if you have to use a transitive verb and say that I am going to negate, then the question is, this negation, because the verb is transitive, it must have an object. And therefore, can you negate? There are two questions then. Can you negate an existing thing? First question. This we have discussed many, many times in different contexts. But here we are coming to the crux. Can you negate an existing thing?
No.
No.
Why not? The answer is correct. What is the reason?
Because we're experiencing it.
Because it exists. Something which exists cannot be negated. Because, as you say, you're experiencing it is in front of you. You can't say that I don't have a glass in front of me. The glass is there. Okay. Now, supposing there is a non-existent thing. Can you negate a non-existent thing?
No, it's not there.
It's
Not
not there. You
required.
can't negate. And therefore, Vedanta says very peculiarly that when you use this word negate, remember that an existing thing cannot be negated and a non-existing thing also cannot be negated. So something which can be negated cannot be put under the existing category bucket and cannot be put under the non-existing category bucket. You see where I'm leading to?
Mithya.
Exactly. In technical language, something which you can negate cannot come under the existing category bucket. So in Sanskrit, under the Sat category. A Sat Vastu cannot be negated. And the non-existing category is called Asat Vastu. Asat Vastu is also which cannot be negated. Therefore, the negatable thing has to belong to a third category altogether, which is Sat, Asat, Vilakshanam, which is neither Sat category nor Asat category, which is neither in the existing category nor in the non-existing category. Only such a thing can be negated. Such a thing is called Mithya. And therefore, Vedanta here is saying that in the seventh mantra, by using the word Upashamaha, Gaudapada indicate that the mantra is indicating that Jagat, which is being negated, is neither Sat nor Asat. So Sat, Asat Vilakshanam. And therefore it is Mithya only. And that negation is done in the seventh mantra by the use of the word Prapancha Upashamaha, free from the Prapancham. This Brahman doesn't, or rather is not connected to any of the three universes, right? So this Mithya category, we can also refer to it in English as seemingly existent. Why do we say seemingly existent? Because you can experience it, you can transact with it, it has transactional utility also, but it does not have reality, right? So there are many examples we can use. One example is the mirage water, right? You can see the water, so it looks as though existent. But when you approach the vicinity of the mirage water, it is no longer there. So perceivable, but it is not really there. There is, of course, one more very well-known example, which you all know, Rajju Sarpaha, the rope snake, right? The snake, the rope snake, the snake superimposed upon the rope apparently exists. Why? Because you can see it and because it can frighten you. But does it really exist? No, because once you shine a torch on the rope, you find that there is no snake at all. Therefore, it has to come under the non-existent category also. You cannot say it's non-existent, right? Because if it was non-existent, it would not frighten you. You cannot say it is existent because it was if it's really existent, then you will find that it will not go away when you show the torchlight. Therefore, this snake on the rope, the Raju Sarpaha, the snake rope, is seemingly existent. Okay, right. There is a third example which Gaudapada will talk about as this seemingly existent category, and that is the dream example, right? And therefore, this particular word, prapancha upashamaha, has to be understood as prapancha is mithya. So prapancha mithyatvam is to be understood from the word prapancha upashamaha. We should also very carefully understand that Mandukya Upanishad does not explicitly use the word mithya. The idea is embedded in the word prapancha upashama. And Vaithatyam actually means false or taken as mithya. Hence, the second chapter is that chapter which reveals that prapancha, the universe, jagat, is mithya. And therefore, the world is as good as not existing, even though you can perceive it, even though you can transact with it, even though it has utility. Turyam Brahman alone exists. There is no second thing other than Turyam Brahman. Now, the question is, what about the world? It is very much experienced. And the answer will be that the experienced world, being mithya, cannot be counted. Just like the bank balance which you experienced in your dream does not contribute towards your bank balance in the Jagrata Avastha. Right? Okay. So, which means what? The world is mithya. The only existing entity is Brahman, Turyam Brahman. Right? We will use the word Turyam Brahman or Turi Chaitanyam in this particular Upanishad. So, whenever I say Turyam, you should remember that it is talking about the Advaita Brahman alone. Then the question comes, the word Turyam, according to Sanskrit grammar, what does it mean? We saw in the seventh mantra, Chaturtham. It means the fourth one. The first three padas were the universe. The first three aspects of Atma are the universe. The fourth aspect is Turyam Brahman. So the question can come up, how do you say that Brahman is Turyam? And the Upanishad itself says it is the fourth one. Okay, so subcommentators explain that you have to understand what the mantra says. Mantra says, Chaturtham iti manyante. People say it is the fourth one. How will you interpret that statement? People say it is the fourth one.
They say, but it is not like that.
That is one way. The other way you can say is the one who does not know the Shastram, he says it is the fourth one. So the Jnani, the wise people, do not call it the fourth because in his vision, the first, second, and third padas are mithya. The fourth alone is Satyam, and therefore it cannot really be the fourth. It is Advaitam. Whenever somebody says fourth one, it means he has not really understood. And in this manner, the word Mithyatmam will also link you to Advaitam, which is the word explained in the third chapter. And therefore, naturally, the second chapter, as you complete, it sort of leads you to the third chapter, right? And here, we are using the method of logic, reasoning to establish the mithyatva. Now, when you use reasoning, what do you do first? First, you gather data, right? And where is data gathered from? Data is gathered from your sense organs. So perception is one source of data. Why do you use perception? Because when you want to make a statement, some logical statement, you have to show that there is a connection of something with something, right? And from perception, you can infer that connection. Right? So, for example, you take the method of or the sentence that the example you take. You see, it's a very famous example, right? You see smoke on the mountain. What do you infer?
There is fire somewhere.
There is fire on the mountain. Okay, not somewhere. I
Yeah,
said
on the
smoke
mountain.
on the mountain. So each
Yes.
word is important. And this idea, I'll just go bit into technicality part of it. This idea is called vyaptihi in Tarka Shastram, the logical science of Vedanta. It's called vyaptihi. Vyaptihi means in English we can call it as coexistence. Right? Now, let's look at the whole process here. You have a kitchen, right? Or you have gone for, let us say, some ritual or the other, and you know that when the fire is lit in the ritual, a lot of smoke is there. And particularly we can talk about the kitchens of the old days where there was wood being used, and to light the fire, a lot of time and effort is spent. A lot of smoke is there in the beginning, then only the fire lights up. And therefore, the invariable coexistence that we experience is what? Wherever there is smoke, there must be fire. Correct? You agree?
Yes.
Yes.
But be careful here. You cannot say that wherever there is fire, there must be smoke. Can you?
Yes, agreed. There could be fire without smoke.
Without smoke. When you light a matchstick, only fire
Yeah.
is there. Right? The smoke has not yet come. If you light, let us say, some kerosene lamp, smoke is not immediately there. Or at least if it's a good lamp, it is not there. The correct vyapti, the correct statement of coexistence is yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vahanihi. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Okay. So this is called the knowledge of the coexistence of smoke with fire. And in the Tarka Shastram, it is called Vyapti Jnanam. Right. Now I look at a mountain and see smoke coming out of the mountain. I see only the smoke. My perception is limited to the smoke because I can't see the fire. And then I apply this Vyapti Jnanam, which is what? Wherever there is smoke, fire must also coexist. And therefore, the fire, I arrive at the conclusion that even though I cannot see the fire, I can infer that the fire is there. Therefore, I have knowledge of the smoke, which is perceptual in nature, but I have knowledge of the fire, which is inferential in nature. Right? It is perceptual knowledge leading to inferential knowledge because of some earlier connection which I know, which is the Vyapti, the statement of coexistence. This reasoning method is called inference, and this inferential statement is called Anumana Vakyam, statement of inference. And the statement of inference, Anumana Vakyam, according to the Tarka Shastra, there are 4 components. So just try at the moment to understand. It will be necessary for you to hear this lecture again and write down so that you are clear in your mind, right? It's a lot of information being given. So this statement of inference is Anumana Vakyam should have 4 components. So, right, Pakshaha. Pakshaha is, in English, it is the locus, right? What is the locus here in this example?
Mountain.
Mountain. Locus is the mountain, right? So Pakshaha is mountain. Then there is Hetuhu. Hetuhu is the reason for your conclusion, right? And this Hetu is what over here? Smoke. Where is the smoke? In the Pakshaha. So the presence of the smoke in the mountain. So if you translate into these technical words, the presence of the Hetuhu in the Pakshaha. The Hetu is the smoke, the reason, and the Pakshaha is the location of the smoke, leads you to a sadhyam, a conclusion. What is the conclusion? That there is fire on the mountain. Now here, please do carefully note that you are perceiving the Hetuhu. Hetuhu is seen, perception is there, smoke is there. Mountain, the Pakshaha is seen because you are seeing the smoke in the mountain, on the mountain. Therefore, Hetuhu and Pakshaha are both being seen. The conclusion is there based on the presence of the smoke in the mountain. The conclusion is there is fire in the mountain. What is the basis for this conclusion? The basis for this conclusion is my earlier knowledge that wherever there is smoke, there is fire, vyaptinyanam. And this is called the drishtantaha, the example. So four components: pakshaha, locus; hetuhu, indicator, reason; sadhyam, conclusion; drishtantaha, the example based on which the conclusion is there. Means that example based on which your statement of coexistence is there, right? So in this, we give the example of a kitchen where we have personally seen that wherever there is fire, wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So the Vyaptinyanam, the knowledge on which the inference is made, is based on an earlier knowledge. So these are the 4 factors which are used. This is the method of logic, right? Why did we talk about it in so much detail? Because in these Karikas, Gaudapada is going to use this method of reasoning and show us that the world is mithya. Okay. Okay. Now, in this example, let us look at these 4 concepts. Pakshaha. The Pakshaha is the Jagrat Prapancha, the daytime world where we are awake. The Hetuhu we will see, the reason we will see in one of these Karikas. The conclusion is that Jagat is mithya, and the basis for the conclusion is the Swapna Prapancha, the dream world, right? And therefore, the Hetu will be because what you see in the dream world is mithya. Therefore, what you see in the Jagat Prapancha is also mithya. Okay. So Jagrat Prapancha is going to be shown as mithya exactly like the dream world is going to be shown as mithya. This is the logic which is going to be presented. Okay. But one thing we should be careful about is that there are many schools of thought which say that the dream world is not mithya, right? So if you are using that logic, then we can't study this chapter, because for this chapter, both the teacher and the students have to accept that Swapna Prapancha is mithya. That dream world is mithya. We have to accept. Okay. So first, in this progression, I'll tell the progression. Gaudapada first will take up the dream world, Swapna Prapancha, establish it as mithya, then he will go to Jagrat Prapancha and establish it as mithya. Right? Now look at the features of Swapna Prapancha. What are the features in a dream? At the time of dreaming, the dreamer takes the dream as real, as satyam. And the events of the dream are more than capable of giving the dreamer pleasure and pain during the dream. Right? During my dream, I can go to the dream ice cream store and buy my favorite strawberry ice cream and eat my favorite strawberry ice cream and feel the taste of the strawberry ice cream and therefore feel the pleasure. Remember, you have to add dream everywhere. Dream shop, dream strawberry, dream eating, dream taste, and dream pleasure. Why? Because it is all being experienced by the dreamer. Right? And therefore, there are three aspects of this dream. The dream can be experienced. Correct? I can transact in the dream because I can go to the shop and buy. There's a transaction. And I can feel the taste and get the pleasure. Therefore, the dream has utility also. Therefore, dream has three things. You can experience, you can transact, and it has utility. But when you wake up, you know that dream has no reality. Even though experienceable, transactable, and has utility, yet has no reality. Thus, the dream is an ideal example for mithyatvam. Okay. Now, let us go back to the fire on the mountain example. Mountain is the locus, the pakshaha. Smoke is the hetu. The kitchen is the example, drishtantaha. Based on these three, the conclusion, the sadhyam, is called fire. There is fire on the mountain. Now, if you look at the waking world, generally we look upon the waking world as what? As real, right? It is real. Now, why is it that you call the waking world real? So Shastra says there's a reason. So we call it, in Sanskrit it is called Uchita Deshaha. Uchita means appropriate. Deshaha here means space. So first reason is Uchita Deshaha, appropriate space. What do you mean by that? Every object in this, not dream world, in the real world, in the waking world, occupies a particular volume of space. It might be very small, like a grain of sugar. It might be very big, like a mountain. But every object has an appropriate volume of space which it occupies. Okay. And the second reason is Uchita Kalaha, appropriate time. So every object in this waking world exists for a particular duration of time. Maybe a very short period. Like, for example, they have these rain flies, right? Rain flies come into being when the rains are there and die very quickly, a few hours. So it can be short or it can be long, like human beings or tortoises, or even like Lord Brahmaji. It can be very, very long. But there is a finite time. And that is why time and space are intrinsically bound together with the Jagrat Prapancha. Even in science, there was a concept called space-time. Therefore, every event and object in this Jagrat Prapancha is bound by space and time. So you can say Uchita Desha Kala. Uchita Desha, Uchita Kala. Appropriate time and appropriate Desha. Right? Therefore, what is the statement of inference? Wherever there is, now we're talking about statement of inference in the waking world. So Vyapti Vakyam in Sanskrit. Vyapti Vakyam, what is it? Wherever there is Uchita Kala and Uchita Desha, there the objects are real, Satyam. So in Sanskrit, Yatra Yatra Uchita Kala Uchita Deshatvam Tatra Tatra Satyatvam. Whichever object has an appropriate space to be in and is bound by appropriate time, that object is Satyam as far as the objective waking world is concerned. Are you guys with me so far? Any doubts?
Acharya, the last line about the Vyapti Vakyam, can you just say,
You
how is it Satyatvam?
Yatra Yatra Uchita Kala Uchita Deshatvam Tatra Tatra Satyatvam. Wherever there is appropriate space and time, meaning whichever object is bound by appropriate space and time, that object exists for you. Remember, we are talking from the Vyavaharika plane,
Yes.
transactional plane only, right? We are not bringing Paramarthika into this. So, everybody's with me as far as that statement is concerned?
Yes.
Okay, now try to convert that statement into Mithya. How will you convert that whole statement into Mithya? You will say wherever there is absence of appropriate space and appropriate time, that object is Mithya. Yatra yatra uchita desha uchita kala abhavaha. Wherever uchita desha and uchita kala is missing, tatra tatra mithyatvam. That object is Mithya only. Okay. Any questions so far? If not, then you use that example to show that the dream world is Mithya. How will you use that statement of coexistence? In fact, the other one is co-absence actually. Wherever the space, appropriate space and appropriate time are absent, Satyatvam is absent. So that is the statement you're going to use. How are you going to use that to show that the dream world is Mithya?
Because in dreams, time and space don't follow our usual rules.
Correct. Now, look at the very specific. Supposing you have dreamt of an elephant. Where is the elephant in your head? Is there appropriate space for an elephant in your head? No. Uchita kala is missing. Right? Assuming that you have dreamt that, you went through an entire lifetime in your dream. You were born, you got married, you had children, you became a sannyasi. The entire thing you dreamt in your dream. Is there time for that in your dream, for the whole thing to happen? No, because dream is what? Half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. So Uchita Kala is also missing. And therefore, using this logic, Gaudapada says that in your dream, the events are too big to fit into your head. Appropriate space is missing. Uchita Kala Abhavaha. Uchita Desha Abhavaha. There is not sufficient time for all the things to happen. Therefore, Uchita Kala Abhavaha. Since appropriate space and time are missing, the dream world is mithya. This is the logic which is going to be followed. Okay. If everybody is okay with that, we can now move on to the first Karika. Any questions you can ask now? Otherwise, we'll move on to chapter 2, first Karika. All right. So we will go to the first Karika of chapter 2. It is all in the same meter, Anushtup. Okay, so Vaithatya Prakaranam, Karika number 1. Please unmute yourself. We will chant. Vaithatyam sarvabhavanam
वैतथ्यं सर्वभावानां
Sarvabhavanam
swapna ahurmanishinaha
स्वप्न
Swapna
आहुर्मनीषिणः
ahurmanishinaha
anthasthanatu bhavanam
अन्धानात् भावः
Bhavanam
samvrittatvena hetuna.
संवृत्तत्वेन
Samvrittatvena
हेतुना
hetuna.
Okay, so that anthasthanaha, remember the visarga turns into a half S in chanting. So don't say antaha sthanatu, anthasthanatu. Okay, so let's first just look at the words. The last word, ahur manishinaha, manishinaha ahu. So manishinaha is a person who is wise, right? Manishina ahu, the wise person declare what? Sarva bhavanam vaithatyam. Bhavam here means all the objects. Sarva bhavanam, of all the objects, vaithatyam, the mithyatvam, the unreality of all the objects, where? Swapne. Right? So, vaithatyam sarva bhavanam swapnaha ahur manishinaha. If you have to rearrange, manishinaha ahuhu swapne sarva bhavanam vaithatyam. The wise people declare that all the objects which you see in a dream are unreal, are mithya. Why? Hetuna. Hetuna is the reason, because of bhavanam anthasthanat. The object's location within the body, you have to supply over there, is not sufficient. Why? Tu samvrittatvena, because of the limitation of space inside your head or inside your body. So what is he taking up first? Uchita desha abhavaha. He is saying that there is not sufficient space in the body, in your head, for all the dream objects to fit inside. And bhavanam antasthanat. So you take it as all the dream objects, bhavanam antasthanat, which you take at anta sharirasya, within the physical body, there is not sufficient space at all. And Shankara gives the example of he says, like in your dream, you experience the mountain and the elephants, and they are inside the body. They are not outside your body. Therefore, tasmate vithata. Therefore, they are not real. There is no dream object outside your body. They are all inside your body, right? Why are they not outside your body? What is the proof that your dream objects are not outside your body?
Because when you wake
They're
up, they
not
are not there anymore.
Okay, any other reason?
Actually, your senses are not working, your physical senses, your organs.
Your organs are
knowledge.
closed. So you don't have access to outside your body. That's number one. And
Even
number
if they
two
were
is,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And number two is an incidental reason. Nobody outside you, none of your friends, your wife, your children, they can see your dream. Right? So nobody can see what is going on in your head. And therefore the entire thing has to be inside you only. So he says samvritatvena. There is insufficient space inside your head. So all the elephants, the horses, the mountains, even the galaxy, sun, moon, stars, everything, they are located in the limited space of your head. Therefore, it says hetuna. By that reason, what is the reason? Because the space in your head is not sufficient. Uchita desha abhava. Therefore, ahur manishanaha, wise people say that all the objects, swapne sarvabhavanam vaitatyam, all the dream objects are mithya. Wise people declare the mithyatvam of all the objects, includes the beings also, human beings, animals, everybody. All the objects are located inside you. There is insufficient space for them to exist outside. So that is uchita desha abhava. Questions? Now we look at one more karika only. Not enough time for all that. Which is the kala bhava is there, right? For beyond the karikas. Second karika. So let us chant. Adhirgatvacha kalasya
Adhirgatva
Kalasya
kalasya
gatva deshanna pasyati
adeshan pashyati
pratibuddhascha vai sarvaha
Pratibuddhischa vai
pratibuddha vai
sarvaha
tasmin deshena vidyate.
tasmin
tasmin
deshena
deshena
vidyate.
vidyate.
So cha means and, moreover, na pashyati deshan. One does not see those places, gatva. Which places? If you have seen Switzerland in your dream, by going there, he says, gatva deshan na pashyati. Whatever places you see in your dream, you don't see by going there. Why? Adhirgatvat kalasya. Because there is not sufficient time. And again, that's one reason. Again, Pratibuddhaha, after waking up, Sarvai Vaina Vidyate, you do not see that I continue to be Tasmin Deshe. So, two things. One is, in a dream, whenever you go to a place, is there not sufficient time to have reached that place? And secondly, when you wake up, you find that you are no longer in the place where you were in the dream. So for these two reasons, it is mithya. So here, for example, we can take another example. We live a whole life in a dream. We see people getting married, children, grandchildren, so many things, right? But there's not sufficient time. And that is what he's saying here. He says, kalasya adhirgatvat. Because of the shortage of time, deshan gatvana pasyati. Any place is not seen by going there. You don't actually undertake the journey. So in your dream, if you have gone to, say, Switzerland, there is not sufficient time for you to go on and come. So because of shortness of time, one does not really go there. Why? They are all in the mind only. Right? Of course, again I repeat, these are accepted as mithya when you are in the Jagrata Avastha. But when you are in Dream Avastha, they are all real. Right? And that is why you experience pleasure and pain in a dream. And so the first line is Uchita Kala Abhavaha, which is presented as the reason for the Swapna Prapancha being called Mithya. Both objects and events in a dream are Mithya. Okay, now the second sentence is a reply for a possible objection by a Purvapakshi. He says that, what is the question? The question is not given here, okay? Sub-commentators will read for that. The Purvapakshi says that the Swapna objects, they are not experienced within the body. So he says that during dream, the jiva leaves the body and roams around in the external world. And in the external world, there is sufficient space for everything, mountains, elephants, etc. And therefore, the Purvapakshi says that your very reasoning, Uchita Desha Bhava, is incorrect. Right? So you will find that in several yoga texts, you will have the person floating out and being connected by a small thin thread to your physical body and going around the whole universe. Right? So using that logic, the Purvapakshi says that your Uchita Desha Abhava logic is incorrect. And therefore, your conclusion that dream world is mithya is incorrect. So to address this question, Gaudapada gives the second line. So supposing you are gone to Switzerland and you are going skiing in the Alps, and suddenly a huge, snowstorm comes, and there is snow coming all over the thing, and you are buried in the snow. And with that fright, you wake up. Where do you wake up? In the bed? In your bed in Ahmedabad or Delhi? Or in the Alps? So on waking up, you are not in the dream location. And so Gaudapada says, Pratibuddhascha, on waking up, Sarvavai, everybody indeed, Tasmin Deshena Vidyate. Nobody continues to be in the same place where he was in the dream. What is clear? All that has happened in the dream is mithya. And this is Pratyaksha Pramanam. This is a perception when you wake up, that I am no longer in that place. And Shankara gives another example in his commentary. He says, supposing you had a meeting with your friend in the dream, and you had a long discussion, and some friend asked a question, and you were about to reply to that question, and then you woke up. When you actually meet that friend in your life in the daytime, will you go and tell him, you know what, that question which I could not answer in the dream, I'm answering now? You won't, right? Because you know that dream was unreal. And therefore, because of these two reasons, he says, Swapna Prapancha is mithya. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions?
Acharya, it needs some mananam and going through once.
I
And if there's
keep
any,
telling you, this is not
yes,
like the earlier
yes,
Upanishads.
definitely,
You have to keep on
definitely.
reading.
Yes, yes, Acharya.
So with this,
If
we'll
there are
stop.
any questions,
Please put in the
I'll
group.
post it on.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Thank you
will.
so much.
Thank you. Acharya.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuchachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om.
Thank you.